He was born in Dundalk, Ireland, in 1873, a boy with too much fire in his heart to stay in one place. Tom Sharkey didn't wait for life to happen to him. He ran away from home, chasing adventure across the sea as a cabin boy. The waves became his walls, the horizon his promise. By the time he reached New York in 1892, he was tougher than most men twice his age. The Navy took him in, and soon, the Pacific would change his life forever. Stationed in Hawaii, he found something that fit him better than the sailor's cap: a pair of boxing gloves. That's where Tom Sharkey, the fighter, was born. He wasn't tall, about 5'8", but he was built like a block of iron, with shoulders wide enough to carry his own legend. On his chest, a tattoo of a star and battleship told his story before he ever spoke. Years later, he'd pick up a cauliflower ear in a brutal scrap with Gus Rulin, and instead of hiding it, he wore it like a badge. Sharkey was the kind of man who turned scars into trophies. His first professional fight came in 1893, and fittingly, it happened on St. Patrick's Day. He flattened Britain's Navy heavyweight champion, Jack Gardner, in the 4th round, a knockout that sent a message: the Irish sailor had arrived. From there, Sharkey's climb was wild and unforgiving. In 1896, he faced Joe Koinski, one of the most feared punchers of the age, a man who would later floor Jack Johnson himself. Sharkey went the full distance with him, took the punishment, gave it back, and walked away a winner. Next came Gentleman Jim Corbett, smooth, technical, a crowd favorite. Their fight ended in chaos when police stormed the ring, calling it a draw. But the storm around Sharkey was only beginning. That same year, the San Francisco Athletic Club staged one of the most talked about fights in America: Sharkey versus Bob Fitzsimmons. The referee? None other than Wyatt Earp. Yes, that Wyatt Earp, the man who once cleaned up Tombstone with a 6-shooter. He walked into the ring with his Colt .45 still on his hip. Fitzsimmons was the faster man. He dominated from the start, dancing around Sharkey's heavy swings. Then came the infamous 8th round. Fitzsimmons threw his legendary solar plexus punch, a shot that could freeze the breath in any man's chest. Sharkey crumpled, clutching his groin, screaming foul. Wyatt Earp called the fight right there, saying Fitzsimmons hit him while he was down. The crowd exploded in outrage. Booing, jeering, nobody saw the foul. But Earp's word was final. Sharkey was carried out, limp as a rag, yet declared the winner. For a time, he claimed the heavyweight title, and his name was on every headline in America. Controversy followed him like a shadow. In 1898, he fought Corbett again, and this time, there was no running. Sharkey mauled him. He bullied Corbett across the ring, rough, relentless. When one of Corbett's seconds jumped into the ring mid-fight, the referee disqualified Corbett and handed Sharkey the victory. By 1899, Sharkey was one of the toughest men alive. He knocked out Kid McCoy to earn a shot at the towering champion, James J. Jeffries. They had fought before, a war that lasted 20 rounds. But this time, the stakes were higher. Their rematch, on November 3rd, 1899, at Coney Island, would make history. It was the first heavyweight title fight ever captured on film. The lights for the cameras burned so hot, they singed the hair off both men's heads. Under that blinding glare, they battled for 25 brutal rounds. Early on, Sharkey had the upper hand. He waded in, fearless, pounding Jeffries with everything he had. But the giant wore him down. When the final bell rang, Jeffries had the edge. Sharkey stood there with a broken nose, 2 cracked ribs, and an ear swollen to the size of grapefruit. But he never stopped swinging. That was Tom Sharkey, a sailor, a fighter, a survivor. When the crowds disappeared, he went back to work like any other man. He ran a saloon, worked as a watchman, lived quietly in San Francisco. By the time the headlines forgot him, Sharkey had already lived a dozen lives. The runaway boy who became a legend of the ring. He passed away in 1953, at the age of 79, resting under California's sky. But every time a fighter walks into a ring, battered but unbroken, you can still feel a bit of Sharkey in the air, the Irish sailor who never learned how to quit.